So good day, I am the last reporter of Group 2. I am Marjorie Barote, and for today's video, I am going to discuss the part of Chapter 8 or the Lesson 8, which is all about the assessment in affective domains. I am going to continue the report of Erica Jane Berdine, the taxonomy of educational objectives. So next is the organization. So the definition of organization, it is relating the value to those already held and bring it into our harmonious and internally consistent philosophy. So examples is to discuss, to theorize, to formulate, and to balance or to examine. And then next, the fourth one is the characterization. So characterization, it is a value or a value set, and then to act consistently in accordance with the values that he or she internalize. So the examples of characterization is to revise, to require, to be related high in the value, to avoid, and to resist, to manage, and to resolve. So these are the taxonomy of educational objectives. So we have the receiving, responding, the organization, and characterization. So we have the 6 level of educational objectives. So for example, to make more details of the levels, so like in the receiving, so of course, by reading a book about something you received or you learned something from the civil rights book, and through reading you became aware to the latest current issues or news happen in the environments. So next is responding. So in responding, you show some new behaviors as a result of experience, and because you learn something to the certain book you have read, you read another book nga the same ang author, and then lain na sab nga libro but same ang topic. So for example, makita nimo din sa screen nga gihatag nako dira sa example, civil rights, because in the first book, interesado man ka, then maka-learn ka, then mo try na sab kag another book the similar to the first book that you read. So next is valuing. So valuing, by its own term, so of course you give values or you make or give importance. So for example, the certain type of topic which is the civil rights. So next is organization. So you already received and you respond and you give importance to the civil rights. So and now you may wanted to make an organization or arrange a civil right away. So next is because you receive or you learn something about the civil rights, you become involved and then maka-experience ka from your behavior with regards to civil rights. So you give importance and you give value to the new learnings regarding the civil rights you've organized. So it is an event or activity that concerns the civil rights, and now you continue or you constantly doing the value or knowledge that you've gained from the subject matter, which is the civil rights. Next is we're going to discuss the methods of assessing learning in the affective domain. So a change in attitude, values, and habit is the end result of effective teaching. Earning in the affective domain. So, change in attitude as manifested in our change of beliefs, feelings, aspirations, and attitude towards something or someone. So, the popular method of assessing learning in the affective domain is observation. So, Macmillan in 2007, he gave 3 feasible methods: the teacher observation, student self-report, peer ratings. and the pair rating. So next is the Likert scale or Likert scale. So it makes use of a 5-point scale from strongly disagree, undecided, agree to strongly agree. So for example, ana, if kanang naay mo conduct og survey sa ilahang thesis, so if paansiron ta sa ilahang questionnaire, so di ba naa dito sa ilahang column. So in teacher observation, it is unstructured. So when observation is open-ended, so structured means when he or she is guided in what to observe by a checklist or rating scale. So the following should be observed. So determine behaviors to be observed in advance. Record students' important data such as time, data, and place. So if unstructured, record brief descriptions of relevant behavior. Then keep interpretations separate from description. Record both positive and negative behaviors. Have as much observation of each student is necessary, and then avoid personal bias, and then be objective, and then immediate or record the observation, and then apply a simple and efficient procedure. So in the number 2, according to Macmillan in 2007, there's 3 feasible methods. And so number 2 is a student self-report. So student self-report, it requires the student to provide an account of his or her attitude or feelings toward a concept or idea or people. So it referred to as written reflection. So it can be derived by a way of student interview or by way of a questionnaire and survey. So peer ratings in another way of asking students peer to rate him or her on effective items where teacher wants to rate the student. And then effective assessment tools, observation, student self-report, and peer ratings make us of assessment tools such as Likert scale, semantic completion, and differential checklist. So and then sentence students written reflection. So next is the sentence completion. So sentence completion, this method is based on the sentence completion will reveal more about thoughts, fantasies, and emotional conflicts than testing with direct questions. So for example, answer ka mo imong i-complete ang sentence ba. For example, assessment is, ano na, imuna na siyang punan. So, from the word sentence completion, ang sentence or ang thought, imuhang i-complete kung unsay missing nga words or thoughts. So, if wingon pa nga semantic differential, so the scale score of pairs of objectives and of adjectives and on feelings or beliefs that are opposite. So for example, so as you can see in the screen, for example, the direction is check the item nga maka-imply nimo and then mark wrong if not. So about dani sa imuhang math class. So if exciting ba siya, fulfilling, demanding, boring, frustrating, and then easy. So in semantic differential, makita nimo ang the different na the negative and the positive side. So for example, if exciting siya, pila ka kuan 2, 1, 0, and then fulfilling ba siya, demanding. So muna ang example sa semantic differential, on which kuan ba opposite, like exciting, boring, just like. So checklist, you're going to check the items or the say na as a questionnaire, like for example kanang mag-survey na mo pa-survey sa ilang thesis. So di ba, we're going to mark check if mao ba na ang ka-imply nato. So now let's proceed to the chapter 9 or the lesson 9, which is all about formative assessment. So the techniques for formative assessment, there are three: the response cards, the hand signals, and the game-based learning. So when we say response cards, these are either pre-printed or write-on cards. Pre-printed cards have responses in them such as yes or no. Write-in cards allow students to indicate the responses in real time. So just like for example, if during our high school days and elementary days, if mapa-activity ang atong mga maestra, so what we're going to do is ato ang ipakita ang cards nga dira ang atong answer. So ang example sa ani kay kanang quiz ball, and then the hand signals. So if you are want to answer, like mo lang ka, just your muisa lang ka sa imong kamot. And then the game-based learning and the gamified instruction are two emerging teaching learning practices to drive learning. Mao ni ang motivation sa if you are a future educator, importante sab nga dili ka boring makadala og discuss sa imo sa atubangan, like kani magpa-games ka kay usa na sa maka motivate sa mga bata para di sila boringan dukaon. And the next is the games for formative assessment. So the Socrative, Kahot, Quizlet, and the quizzes. So Socrative, it is a classroom engagement app that provides games and other activities for students. So mura ni siya o usa ni siya ka app nga magamit sa classroom nga kuan sa teacher para then nag-provide sa ni siya og games and activities. So mura matawag siya og mura siya og G-Classroom. And the next is Kahoot. So it is a mobile application that allows teachers to construct homework and assignment almost as though they were video game type guests. So Kahoot kay pwede siya mahimong energizer. And then next is the Quizlet. This app allows educators to convert data gathering into a gamified form that they can use to inform their teaching practice. So Quizlet, it is also an app. Next is the quizzes. This lets teachers monitor the results of students' work as they do it. And next is self-assessment and formative assessment. So self-assessment is aligned with the principle of learner agency, which means that learning involves the activity and the initiative of the learner, more than the inputs that are transmitted to him or her by the teacher. So learner agency, it is regulated learners who engage in self-monitoring and self-evaluation. Like from the word learner agency self, like nag-assess lang ka o self-monitoring and then self-evaluation. So next, self-regulated learners determine whether they attained the intended learning outcomes, which they have made as their very own learning outcomes. So next is scoring rubrics and formative assessment. So formative assessment strategies, there are The number one is a round robin chart. So teacher passes charts among groups to assist understanding. So each group of 4 or 5 students begins with a chart and some markers. So the group records an answer to an open-ended question. They can also share the knowledge they have on top covered in class. So once the students finish the chart, they pass it in the next group. So when every group has worked in every chart, responses are discussed as a class. So I have put it here the YouTube link about the video of round robin charts. So you can watch that link. So the next formative assessment strategist is questioning strategies. So maybe used with individuals, small groups, or the entire class. Asking students to answer higher order questions such as why and how. So with the students' answers, teacher discerns the level and extent of the students' understanding. So the next strategist is a three-way summarize. So students can work in groups or individually. So in response to a question or topic inquiry, they write 3 different summarize. So the words um, 10 to 15 words long, 30 to 50 words, and then 75 to 100. So like summarize na ang topic. So the next strategist is the think, pair, share. So the teacher assess a question and students write down their answers. So students are then placed in pairs to discuss their responses. So teacher moves around the classroom and listens to various discussion, then let them share or respond as a pair to the class. So muna ang think, pair, share. So I have also the YouTube link that you can watch on. Then the next strategist the 3, 2, 1 countdown. So teacher requires students to respond to 3 separate statements at the end of the lesson. So 3 things you didn't know before, 2 things that surprised you about this topic, and the 1 thing you want to start doing with you've learned. So teacher asks other questions or ask students to write questions about the topic they want to ask. So for example ana ikahuman og discuss umangutan naman dyan na ato ang mga teacher no nga if after sa ilang discussion mutana sila if nabatay mga clarification and suggestion or nabatay mga pangutana. So next strategies the 1 minute paper. So usually done at the end of the day. So students can work individually or in groups. So they must answer a brief question in writing. Makita ang ilang main point, most surprising concept, questions not answered, and the most confusing area of a topic. So next strategist is exit admits tickets. So it is a small pieces of paper cards that students give to the teacher as they leave the classroom. So students write down the main idea that they learned that day. So admit tickets are answers to questions or homework on a past lesson written in small pieces of paper or cards that students are required to submit as they enter the class. So you can watch the video the YouTube link that I put in the page, the screen. So next strategist is the creative extension project. So teacher asks students to come up with a simple project to demonstrate comprehension. So create a poster or collage illustrating the subject matter. So muna ang example, record or rehearse skit or podcast discussing the topics covered, and build a diorama about a subject and create a narrative behind it. Then let students design their own flashcards to test each other with. So, keynote presentation, keynote presentations made by the students on the topic. Let's proceed. So now let's proceed to the chapter 10, which is all about grading and reporting. So there are 7 things to consider when discussing with your students before assessing the strategies. So the number 1 is explain where the test fits in the bigger picture. And then the second is share how the test results will affect their overall class grade. The number 3 is questions about what their data will look like and who will be seeing it. And then number 4 is take the fear out of the testing jargon and clarify the testing environment. Then make any transition to computers or tablets easy. And then provide the dates of the next assessment. So that is the and the things to consider in discussing with your students before assessing strategies. So, muhatag sa kanila og ang mga instruction or before ka muhatag o so next is the functions of grading and reporting system. So number 1 is enhancing students' learning, and number 2 reports to parents or guardians, and number 3 is administrative and guidance uses. Then, so in administrative and guidance uses, helping to decide promotion, graduation, honors, athletic eligibility, and then reporting achievements to other schools or to employers, and then providing input for realistic educational, vocational, and personal counseling. The next is the components of a grading system. So, the number 1 is the standards of comparison. So, what standard for comparison will you use for grading? So, will you compare student performance to other students' performance? Norm reference grading. And then will you compare it what the student is able to do or learning potential or self-reference? So, muna ang mga components sa grading system. Like, naman dyan na ang comparison, the standard of comparison. Number 2 is aspect of performance. So, number 3 is weighting different kinds of evidence. So this refers to how much weight is given to the different aspects or components of a student's grade. So as you can see in the next in the screen, the components of a grading system. So nadaraan so ang mga components. So for example, is the routine work, performance tasks, and the quarterly assessment. And then the language, 30%, 50%, and 20%. Like in APE, language or APE, moto. And then in SP or science, and then math and map. Now let's proceed to the next page, the giving feedback to students and parents after assessment. So a cliche, which works effectively, is to open decision with a positive feedback. Second, know the expectation of the students or parent from the feedback session. So it acts as a compass for the teacher as assessor. And third is be very specific and stick to the predefined parameters or competences to make reference. And the fourth is cite examples whenever possible to help the student or parent understand better. The number 5 is involve the student or parent, and then be patient and display great listening skills to create the required trust and rapport with the student and parent. And then allow the student or parent to explain the intent behind his or her action and differing opinion whenever appropriate, and then refrain from passing a judgmental statement your statements have to be suggested rather than stated as absolute truths. And so these are the feedbacks to students and parents after assessments. And then, moto ang mga dapat um, buhaton. So next is the some pointers in communicating assessment in results. So number one is establish learning outcomes related to what we are assessing. Number two is document the process we use to assess the outcomes. Third is tie the results back to our learning outcomes to communicate whether the program or service worked as we intended. So number four is take note of decisions made as a result of the assessment process. Now let's proceed to the next, the reporting students' progress and grades to parents. So these are three reporting students' progress. The number one is the report card. So is a standard method of reporting students' progress and grades to parents. So like for example, nag-experience ani during our high school. Ang kaning nga report card is ihatag ni siya in every grading, and then like papermahan ni sa atong mga parents and then atong ipakita. So anasa dito ang mga comment sa mga teacher is if unsa na klase nga bata. And then is the written progress report. So this can be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly reports of the students' progress and achievements. So these written reports may include the students' performance on tests and quizzes, projects, and reports. So the third one is parent-teacher conferences. So parent-teacher conferences are both a responsibility and an opportunity. So parent-teacher conferences. So dili lang kay ang teacher ang dako nga responsibilidad para sa mga estudyante. So apil sad na ang mga parent because they are the one who guide their children. And then next is reminders for school or teachers to get the most parent-teacher conferences. So the number one is announce the date for card giving in advance. So example ani, like we experienced during our junior and senior high school elementary. So na sila card day or recognition day. And then be positive in approach, be objective, have a listening ear, and then don't project an omniscient image, and then practice good communication skills, and then don't talk about our students, and with an encouraging note in the same way that you began with a positive note. So next is why report or communicate assessment results. So we document our assessment process for accountability. This assessment results should be communicated clearly and accurately to learners as well as parents for improved learning. And then sharing assessment results is an opportunity to tell an important and meaningful story. So that's would be all about for the chapter 10 for grading and reporting. And now let's proceed to the chapter 11, which is the reflective practice assessment data. So what is reflective practice? So in its simplest form, thinking about what you do, and it's beyond casual thinking, requires a conscious effort to think about events and develop insights from them. So kani reflective practice, so nag-reflect ka, like reflection practice. The next is measure of teaching effectiveness. So Number one is daily lesson log or the DLL. So daily lesson log for a week shows the lesson for each day with index of mastery computed accurately. So the index of mastery contains the learner attainment data that measure the learner's mastery level of competency. And the next is the electronic class record or the ECR. So it includes the grading sheet and summary of quarterly grades, allows teacher to monitor individually the learner attainment data per specific learning area and assess whether the learner pass or fail. The next is a progress chart. So the teacher used this to monitor his or her learner progress quarterly based on class average. The next is the suggestions for the use of documents. So, mo niya mga suggestion if mugamit ka og mga documents. So, number one is plan monitoring and evaluation activities. Number two is monitor and evaluate learners' performance regularly and consistently. Then explore varied monitoring and evaluation documents. Number four is validate monitoring and evaluation documents to ensure the accuracy of learner attainment data. The number five is involve the learners in certain types of monitoring and evaluation. The next is the other ways of evaluating learner achievement. So number one is item analysis, and it is a process which examines learner responses to individual test items in order to assess the quality of each item and the list as a whole. So an effective item analysis starts from a carefully written test based on the table of specifications or the TOS. So katong TOS mo to ang i-explain ni Dayan. Then number two, frequently table. A frequency table, so with mean score, standard deviation, and the mean percentage. So number three is reflective practice through performance evaluation. Number four, students as evaluators, making students' evaluation meaningful. Number five is peer as evaluators, making peer evaluation of teaching work. So next is how to make peer evaluation work. So number one is support from school administrators. Number two is trust. So dapat ka kay salig. The number three is time. Number four is voluntary. Next is the general supervisory program procedure. So phase one, startup includes establishing the specific purpose of the supervisory activity. So teacher strengths and needs assessment or the TSNA. So or the IPPD or the individual plan for professional development. Phase 2. Build up the supervisory activities that may occur in site or in the school or off-site. So, number one is pre-conference, actual support activities, and then the third one is a post-conference. Next is phase 3. Closure to move on, provide a temporary course to conclude the specific support intervention activity where most of the hand-holding ends in teacher autonomous and the professional learning community begins. Next is the tools for instructional tools supervision. So the CB Pass formative appraisal tool is being utilized as instructional supervision form 3. Number one is instructional supervision form 1 observation information. Number 2 is instructional supervision form 2 post observation information. Number 3 is instructional supervision form 3 ABC teacher observation technique. Next is instructional supervision support intervention strategies. So mauni ang mga strategies. So number 1 is study groups. So this is study a group of teachers interested in collegial study and action such as curriculum design and instructional innovation. The number 2 is action research. So the teacher or the researcher engages in research to address a problem closely connected to his or her work, especially teaching. Number three is peer teaching or coaching. So it is a professional development strategy that enables teachers to consult with one another, discuss, and share teaching practices that increase student learning and support and help ensure quality teaching for all students. The number four is mentoring. So it is a supervisory procedure where the instructional supervisor and school head as a conferencing. Number five, it is a conference between a school head and a teacher classroom supervision. And number six is a walkthrough. So it's a brief visit to classrooms throughout the school. So conducted frequently on an informal and non-evaluative basis designed to collect patterns of data. So that will be all about the instructional supervision, support, intervention strategies. So I think sabotable ito siya. And then that would be end for the chapter 11.
That would be all. Thank you.